Why, hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is for you. Thank you so much for stopping by, and welcome to my very first book review. As we all know, I very much enjoy reading BL and Danmei and romance books, and I thought, you know what? I might as well try to influence you all to also buy books that I really like and talk about books that I really like. And yeah, so that's all this is me trying to show you why you, dear viewer, should buy and read The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish. I have been eyeing this series for a while, and I finally splurged and bought all 4 books because I knew I was gonna love it. I hadn't read the first book, and I bought all 4 because I just had such a really good feeling about this series. And I mean, come on, when the series is described by other people as the Fish Mpreg BL, you've already hit 2 very interesting points for me, and I want to see where the fish pulls in with all of this. So this is kind of going to be a casual review. I am going to be reading all 4 books and doing a short little video review for each one. So right now I'm going to do book 1, and then in a moment, well, for you it'll be a moment. For me, I'll then go read book 2 and record book 2. So I'm going to do a short segment per book, and then a segment of the series overall, my thoughts, my feelings, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, let's jump into book 1. So book 1, I devoured like no one's business. I got book 1 5:30 p.m. on a Friday night, which, if you don't know, that's the usual nights that I stream. So between coming home, streaming for about 2.5 hours, I was finished with the book by 1 a.m. I could not put it down. I did not want to put it down. I was like, oh shoot, I have to put this down to go stream. In which I started up everything for stream that I needed, and then immediately opened the book again. Like, this book is such a smooth read. I have read other Danmei, where they're usually more political intrigue based, but they have not been as smooth because I'm having to constantly stop and reorient myself with cultural context and stuff, which is totally fine. I love doing that when I'm in the mood for it. But when I'm not in the mood for it, this book comes in like a delicious after dinner mint. It just kind of sits on your tongue and melts and goes, hey, it's nice, isn't it? And it is. The main character is very humorous, to say the least. He is definitely making the best of a horrible situation. Because, a short plot synopsis, our main character, Liu, wakes up as a fish. And that is the first thing we learn about Liu, is that he has been turned into a fish. And later we find out that he has been transmigrated into this fish. And the fish sits in the story that he was just reading before he died. Well, we assume that he died because that's usually how transmigration stories work, is you die and then you get transmigrated into whatever character, or in this case, fish, that the system, the magical system, decides that you should be the one to change the story. Usually for the better, So far, the transmigration stories I've read, have been change the story for the better, fix the story. So Liu has a system, and the system says, you need to fix this prince who will become a tyrant. You need to, make him not become a tyrant. Make him nicer, please. And the prince is the disabled tyrant. He is mute. And so far, I am really liking the disability rep in this book. it definitely shows a very realistic depiction of living with a disability. I mean, the prince cannot say a word. He is completely mute. And so it deals with the fact that his father is extremely pitying of him, extremely kind of like babies him a little bit. But the prince is Prince Jing is an entirely capable character on his own. And he has his, not seeing eye dog, but speaking mouth human, for lack of a better word. His advisor, who has been with him his entire life and basically acts as Prince Jing's spokesperson. And they know each other. They've known each other for so long that basically what the spokesperson says is really what Prince Jing is saying internally. And the spokesperson just makes sure everyone can hear it. But this book is definitely a rom-com. This is a lovely little rom-com. To compare it to a other kind of rom-com Danmei that I've read, Scumvillain's Self-Saving System. Scumvillain's Self-Saving System was a riot. I was laughing multiple times reading it. This book, I was laughing more. I was laughing more reading the first book of The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish, which I actually have the book right below me, which is why my model looks like it's looking down, because I'm looking at the book. But yeah, this book had me laughing so hard my stomach hurt. I mean, the fish plays dead multiple times. Our main character goes, play dead. And it is every single time it works out in his favor. And I am just cracking up reading it. I wouldn't say it's a slow burn, but I also wouldn't say it's like a fast burn. I mean, at the end of book 1, they are about to like meet as humans. And that's where book 1 ends. So far the like feeling progression of book 1 is more like Li Yu getting himself into like, oh my god, I'm in this world, I need to get settled into this world, I have to deal with this system, which he calls the fish scamming system, because it really is not a helpful system at all. Like, it is probably the least helpful system I've read in a transmigration novel, which is hilarious, because I can only imagine you're a fish and you have to change a human, and your system is just like, good luck with that. It really shows just how resourceful Liu is. And also he's a little baby at times. He just complains every so often, which honestly in his situation, completely understandable. But yeah, as I was reading, I used some lovely little sticky note, long little sticky notes that you could put in books to have just a little bit sticking out of the edge. And I grabbed just a few of my absolute favorite moments, because like if I were to give a rundown of every plot point in this book, which I won't, because I'm trying to convince you to buy it. I'm trying to convince you that you, dear reader, viewer, want to become a dear reader of this book. You would like it. Honestly, I think my community, this book is kind of like right up our alley. But there's so many really, really just funny bits of this book. Our lovely fish protagonist transforms into a human, realizes he's butt naked, which the system did not tell him was going to happen. So he, in a fit of, oh my god, I can't walk around naked, just steals Prince Jing's underwear and his like undershirt, to translate it to like a modern English word. And then the prince and his advisor find out that the prince's underwear was stolen, and they're like, we have a pervert thief on our hand. Why is he stealing your underwear? Which it is a miscommunication trope, which I usually hate. Usually absolutely hate. It is a miscommunication trope done right, because it is also secret identity. And just like, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like 12 little sticky notes in this book, just highlighting places that I really loved. And not only is the writing good, the art that goes with it, the little, extra illustrations are gorgeous. The lines are like beautifully chunky. Like, it feels, I'm not the best at putting art appreciation into words. Usually I just scream. But everything feels has a nice weight to it. And the illustrations are just gorgeous, and every single one as it popped up, I was like, oh, yay, illustration. And it did not disappoint. But yeah, to show just a few of my favorite lines and bits from this book based on passages that I sticky noted. From the very beginning, there's nothing like reading a sentence that says, an entire herd of WTFs stampeded through Liyu's mind. Because honestly, if I was in that same position, I too would have a stampede of WTFs running through my mind. Oh yeah, then the other one I put a sticky note on is what I'm pretty certain is the first instance of Liyu calling his system the fish scamming system, because it really gives him close to nothing to work on, and then it goes, good luck. There is like palace intrigue going on in this story because, it's set in like ancient fantasy imperial China, so you kind of, and one of the main characters is a prince. You kind of can't avoid having some palace drama, but it's not the type of palace drama where you're constantly going and like trying to double check back to people in the, because this book does have a nice little glossary and name guide and character guide. You're not constantly going back to the character guide and being like, okay, this character is related to who by what way? It's pretty easy to follow palace drama. But I mean, there's nothing like palace drama being ended by a fish jumping out of the water and slapping a concubine in the face. And then the concubine tried to tell everyone that that's what happened, and everyone just being like, why are you crazy? What is going on with you? Which is her just desserts. But goodness gracious. There is also one section where Prince Jing is holding little Liyu in his hands, cute little fishy, his little fishy, and he has it kind of in his lap, and his talking mouth human, his advisor, comes in and sees Prince Jing with this fish in his lap, and the advisor's first response is like, no, your highness, it won't fit, which is an insane response to have. I feel like there, in no way would I expect to see the old meme, the old Code Geass meme, I will proceed to pleasure myself with this fish, in a written book. But all I could think of as I was reading that scene was that meme, and it was just absolutely hilarious. So yeah, that is a general overview of book 1. And I'm very excited to go read book 2. I had to wait like I got this book on Friday, and I had to wait till Tuesday, which is yesterday, to get the book, to get book 2. And I was like chomping at the bit trying to get book 2. So now that I have book 2, I'm gonna go immerse myself in that. well, for you, it'll be the next, like, minute or two. You'll see me again talking about book 2. But for me, it'll have been, 4 hours-ish, maybe. Depends on how fast I absolutely devour book 2. But yeah, this has been book 1. I'm back. Well, for you guys, it's been like probably less than a couple seconds. For me, it's been 4 hours because I just devoured book 2. It's, man, this series just keeps getting better and better and better because book 1 was getting us used to the universe and starting to hint a little bit at the relationship between Prince Jing and Liu. And now book 2 is all about them getting together. Hell yes. Hell yes. I swear, the writing is so smooth. It's smooth as butter. I, again, devoured this book because I could barely put it down. I did not want to put this book down at all. I stopped and had lunch and I was like, do I have to eat? I just want to read. I just want to finish reading this book. It's that good. I'm desperately trying to influence you to like this book too because I love it. I am adoring this series. So we start out with Liu being like, wow, I like this guy a little bit, but I think he might like me. And then we have miscommunication trope, which is usually not my favorite thing. I'm usually not big on the miscommunication trope, but it's miscommunication more on one side than the other. Prince Jing knows more than Liu thinks he knows, and so it's almost mutual pining. Except Prince Jing thinks that Liu is desperately trying to seduce him, and Liu is just like, I'm a fish. You're a human. This can't work. But, they are adorable together, and it makes my heart sing. There's a little bit more palace intrigue going on. We definitely learn about Prince Jing's brothers and dealing with them and their vies for the throne and trying to take down Prince Jing, and then whoops, the fish. Despite being a fish, Liu definitely has figured out ways to use his fishy body, which sounds wrong, use his fishy body to spoil plans. Plus we get, he uses his now human body as well, to definitely seduce Prince Jing. Prince Jing is, suffering. Poor man is suffering. All while Liu is going through like a freaking crisis and a half, being like, I am a modern man. You are a character in a book. Also, I'm a fish most of the time. So how is this supposed to work? They have their little fights. They get back together. And then Liu, realizes, oh shit, I really kind of like this guy. Oh shit, I like him. Which, with a surprising lack of, but we're both boys, that happens in a lot of BL Donmei stuff. Liu is like, I'm bi, I'm gay, I don't care. All I know is I think he's hot. I like him. And they're boyfriends, except only Liu knows what that means. The comedy did not stop. Even through the, palace intrigue and miscommunications and like fights. The comedy has not stopped. And I am very excited to pick up book 3 here shortly, probably soon. Because book 2 leaves off at a great little cliffhanger that really kind of, if you were not introduced to this book as the Fish Empreg BL, I believe the ending of book 2 would throw you for a fucking loop. But as someone who knew this was coming, it just made me laugh more. Because yes, absolutely. Absolutely pretend to be pregnant. Yeah, that's how this works. That's how this works. Plus you get the irony, I think that's the right word for it, the irony of Li Yi and Prince Jing absolutely in their own world. Li Yi doing things that confuses the fuck out of everyone else. And Prince Jing is just like, that's my, what is it called? Boyfriend? Yes, he is good and very cute. And we, you know, Leah's like, I made my boyfriend lunch while he goes off to work, and doesn't even notice that the food is burnt to a fucking crisp. But he's just like, I'm a good boyfriend, and look at my boyfriend, he's hot when he's concentrating. Once Liu kind of like acknowledges that he's in love with Prince Jing, he just kind of is like, oh, he's hot. Oh no, he's hot. And I've always thought he was hot and I didn't notice it. It's great. It's amazing. We get to see, I think they've dribbled a bit of a few mystery plot lines in here that I'm really interested to see where they go with this, because, I mean, there's only, in quite a lot of like transmigration novel fan fiction that I've read, they tackle the problem of transmigrated character actually like knows what's about to happen with the plot. So how does transmigrated character explain these future knowledges to the novel characters that they're with without seeing like they're A, insane, B, some sort of like wild magic future sightseer thing, or C, all of the above. And so I'm really interested to see how this book handles that, because we've already had a few situations where Liu has used his knowledge to affect things, and Prince Jing is just like, all right. But I want to see how they hash it out, because if this mystery plot that they've dribbled in is goes how I think it might go, if I am connecting the dots in this plot correctly, which I do quite often connect dots in romance novel plots, I tend to connect them pretty well, except when I don't, and then I really don't. But if this plot is going where I think it's going, I'm really curious to see how this novel deals with this character knows things that he should not know. He knows things that he should not know. It's really, I'm excited to pick up book 3. I'm excited to pick it up. I don't know how much time I'll have today to finish it. I may have to read it tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Or I may get partially the way through it today. Just looking at the time of things, it's like 2:45 p.m. as of recording. And I stream at like 8. That might be enough time to read if it takes me another 4 hours. But yes, sorry. I'm loving this book. Well, I you know, obviously I devoured book 2 in another 4 hours. But I'm very excited to see where book 3 takes it and what new things we may uncover, learn. I'm excited to see the, you know, palace palace drama. Other princes get their comeuppance and their dues. And I'm really excited. So that is kind of it for my review of book 2. When you guys see me for book 3, it'll be in like a minute or 2 for you guys. It won't be that long, but for me, it'll be possibly the next day or like 4 hours later. So, but yeah, that's it for book 2. Hi, hello, I'm back. Well, for you guys, it's been like a couple seconds. For me, it's been quite a few hours. It's been like 6 hours or so, because it is now 10 o'clock at night. I finished my Wednesday stream, and it is time to talk about book 3. Oh my gosh. Book 3, if I had to describe book 3 in like a couple of words, it would be fluff and babies. Right at the start, we're like, yes, babies. And then, like, for the majority of the book, we are dealing with the babies and dealing with some more, you know, palace drama, palace intrigue, and stuff like that. So I remember remembering back over 8 hours ago-ish, reading book 2. There was a mystery plot scattered in that I thought I knew where it was going. Okay, turns out I was wrong. Turns out I was completely wrong. It is totally not the person I thought it was. The victim isn't even who I thought it was. So I'm very interested to see how that wraps up in book 4, because I'm now like, what could it be? Huh? I think they've dropped a few other hints, and I think I have kind of an idea of a couple other things it could be, but I'm not certain, and I'm loving that I don't know. Also, I remember when I was talking about book 2, I was talking about the issue with transmigration novels where the protagonist knows what's about to happen. And how does the protagonist tell the other, you know, characters of the book what's about to happen without looking like a seer or an insane person? So this book did a very funny little hand wave over that with, fish spirit stuff. And it just made me laugh of how easily it was resolved. It was great. I was like, oh, well, that problem's out the window now. I will say, like, we've seen some really interesting, I mean, there's a lot of, like, growth in Liu and Prince Jing's relationship. And just, it's great. I will say that this book touched a lot more on Prince Jing's disability than I was expecting. But, I mean, when you're dealing with fish babies, it kind of makes sense that his disability would be brought up more. So far, I am really liking that they're not going like a magical cure route. They're not like, oh, we're gonna cure him. That's really not what they're going for, which I, as a disabled person, feel is very, very refreshing. This book definitely does tackle it's historical. It's a historical drama-ish. So it's, you know, historical period appropriate ableism. So if that is not something you're into, you may want to just like brace yourself a little bit for book 3. But there's also, like, it also deals with a little bit with Prince Jing's internalized ableism, which I wasn't expecting to be brought up, but I really like how it was handled. I feel like it was handled very period appropriate without being, you know, like disrespectful, which is always phew. But I swear this book, I mean, it went down just as smooth as the others. I finished this one as well in about 4 hours. And it was another one that I didn't want to put it down. and I was rendering something on my computer, and it was like, this will take about 4 hours, and I was like, oh cool, I have time to read the next book. Yeah, this one went down really nice and easy. They've set up a few more palace intrigue things that I am excited to see go down in book 4, and hopefully have that be wrapped up. It will be wrapped up. Book 4 is the last book, but there's a nice balance of like plot to fluff. I will say, despite the fact that it is kind of just like described in some general flowery overview language or of like fade to black, I was surprised by how often the main couple is just absolutely having sex in this book. They're like, it really is like, oh, okay, wow, you guys realized that you both loved each other and went, all right, time to make up for lost time. I believe the events of this book take place over like a year of in-story time. So, I mean, you know, it's not like they're fucking like rabbits every day, but it is mentioned enough in the book that I was like, this is like the 6th time in as many chapters that it has been mentioned that they go to bed together, which you would think, wow, I mean, it's done very tactfully, but it also doesn't feel like it like shies away from the fact that, yeah, no, these two are having a very physical relationship. But yeah, there is a really great balance of fluff to plot. And I feel like enough of the plot lines get resolved quickly enough that it feels like the story moves at a nice pace. Like, I'm not like, there are some overarching things that we're still dealing with from like book 1 and 2 that are still being dealt with in book 3, but those aren't the only plot. Mouth, are you gonna cooperate with me? Those are not the only plot developments that are happening. There's a lot of like smaller things that are going at a fast enough clip that no part of this book felt like a slog. Even though this had actually probably most of the like dealing with palace drama, dealing with fighting of the other 2 books. I never felt like I was going, when are we getting to the end of this? But also we learn a lot actually about Prince Jing's childhood and stuff like that, and it's really interesting, and I feel like the author has done a really good job with setting up threads to be wrapped up to where I'm not afraid that book 4 is gonna wrap things up way faster than they need to be. I feel like book 4 is gonna be able to wrap up a bunch of these threads nicely. I feel like it's gonna, I would hope it spends a fair amount of time relating to the mystery plot that's kind of been building in book 3. And it started in book 2, it's been building in book 3, and I'm really hoping that book 4 is when we finally figure it all out and deal with it. But I don't even know where, I mean, that could be something that gets dealt with really quickly. It could be something that doesn't get dealt with quickly. It could be something that is done at the end of the book. But I am excited, and even though the fact it is 10 o'clock at night and I very much should be going to bed soon, my brain is like, what if we pick up book 4? What if we pick up book 4? No brain. But I mean, that's how much this series is really sitting with me. that I really, really want to chew through it again. I want to jump straight back into another book, straight into book 4, and find out more about what happens with this couple and their adorable fish babies. Oh, it's so cute. And like the Emperor and this mystery plot, and it ended on a beautifully done cliffhanger. So that's also part of the reason that I really, really want to get into book 4 now. But I must rest. So, that is kind of the end for my quick review of book 3. Well, for you guys, it'll only be like a couple seconds or whatever. For me, it'll be a whole new day. But I'll read book 4, do my short review of book 4, and then do my review of the series as a whole. Which I feel is gonna be kind of a lot of rehashing of some of the stuff I've said in these like little mini reviews, but you know, it's all gonna be okay. This is my first time doing this stuff, but I'm enjoying it. I mean, it also helps that I'm reading a very enjoyable series. If this book was a slog, this would be not as fun, but this book is not a slog. So, yeah, that's it for book 3, and I will see you again shortly. Hi, it's me again. Well, for you guys, it's been like a minute. What? For me, it's a whole nother day and pretty late in the afternoon-ish. But yeah, I finished devouring book 4, woke up, and immediately grabbed the book off my nightstand and was like, all right, time to read. So, final thoughts about book 4, and then I will go into kind of like thoughts about the series as an entirety. So book 4, I will just say I shot myself in the foot a little bit with book 3. Remembering what I said yesterday, that I was like, oh, they're really handling his disability well. I'm super happy. It doesn't look like they're gonna do magical fixing. And they did magical fixing of his disability. So, that's a con. That's a con to book 4. I really wish they had kept him being disabled instead of being like, oh, we can fix it. But I mean, of all the stuff that happened related to that, it wasn't horrible. I mean, it still wasn't great, but it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. I've seen quite a lot of magical disability fixing in fantasy, and this was at least, you know, less problematic. But yeah, that was like the only con. That was the only con, as I was like, damn, they actually did that. But otherwise, most of this book was actually plot. For as much as like book 3 was a lot of fluff and like fun, book 4 was pretty plot heavy. I'm not going to go into the details of the plot because I want you to read it yourself. But it went at a nice fast clip. Again, like all the other books, book 4 did not have me at a point where I was like, oh my God, can we get this over with? There were a few parts explaining some of the palace drama that kind of went over my head a little bit, but nothing to where I was so confused that I felt like I couldn't continue. There was bits where I was just like, okay, I don't think I fully understand that, but all right. But yeah, the mystery that had been sprinkled in on book 2 and book 3 finally gets resolved. It gets resolved in a really satisfying way. But again, I was completely wrong about what was going on with the mystery. The truth of it ended up being way wilder than I ever imagined. And very much so when everything was being revealed, I was like, what? But nothing crazy enough that I was like, nothing crazy enough that it interrupted my suspension of disbelief. I was just like, all right, I guess that's how this is going down. But we got to see adorable fish babies. We got to see Liu and Prince Jing, or, well, you know, I always mispronounce his actual name because I'm just really bad at pronouncing, I believe it's Cantonese? No, Mandarin. The other pronunciation system, speaking system. But yeah, Mu Tianqi. We get to learn more about him, and we delve really deep into his backstory and things that happened to him. And some things from like book 1 get called forward again. It was a very satisfying wrap up to the story. I didn't feel like anything had been left hanging, and the way that things were wrapped up were really nice. There is a really cute, like, special chapter right before the epilogue. The epilogue, I was like, oh, wow, I'm already at the epilogue. And the epilogue's like a page and a half. And I was like, okay, that's shorter than I expected, but it was very cute. But also, there's a very, very cute little interlude, right before the epilogue that I was like, oh, this is adorable, and it really ties up Liu being a transmigrator in a nice little bow, and we get to see it. The story does actually like go into Mu Tianxi's mind and thought process about the fact that his husband is a fish, and you know, is a fish spirit, quote unquote, and like, what is it gonna be? Is my fish husband going to leave me? But all that gets wrapped up really, really nicely. Again, the only thing that I didn't like is the fact that his disability was magically cured. But even that was done not on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it didn't exist. Sorry, no, 1 being the magical fixing didn't exist, 10 being absolutely like snap your fingers and this problem is gone suddenly. I feel like it's sitting pretty solidly at like a 5. It exists, but it's not a quick fix. It's not like oh, surprise, we could have done this the whole time. And narratively, you know, plot wise, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's the one con of the book. And it sucks that it's the one con of the book. But yeah, that is the general review of book 4. And now I will go into now I can talk about just like the series as a whole. I mean, if it's not obvious already, I love this book series. The only con is the magical fixing of disability. Otherwise, it handles the disability well. Except at the end when it's magically fixed, but you know. It handles a lot of like, what would it be like to be, you know, a modern person coming into this kind of ancient China setting, and like Liu talks a lot about like, well, this is different than what I would have done. Oh my god, I forgot that people in this time period are like misogynistic. But you know, what can you do? The romance is done really well. It's not a slow burn, and it's also not a fast burn. It's a really satisfyingly paced romance. I keep thinking my cat is coming over to bother me, because yesterday as I was reading book 3, she was all over me, but she's not. It's just me seeing things. So the romance is plotted out really nicely. I really felt like they did a good job of not making it's not like love at first sight. Both of these characters go through things that kind of like test like, oh, is this really the person I really like? And then they come together and it's beautiful and wonderful and fluffy, and my God, did these two bone just nigh constantly. It is, all I will say is there is a scene in the final book where Liu is able to get condoms, and he's just like, yes, thank you. So there's they bone night constantly, and I mean that's done as, you know, flowery overview, fade to black, but the romance is done, I feel, really, really well. I really felt like these characters had good chemistry, other than, you know, sometimes you read a romance and you're like, these characters are together because the author put them together. And these characters, Mu Tianxi and Liu, feel like if I met these people like on the street, I'd be like, yeah, no, that's a couple. They work well together. The overall plot is not just romance focused. It does have a lot of like palace drama, but it's not palace drama so thick that you are constantly rechecking who these people are and how they interact with each other and how they relate to each other. Thousand Autumns is the other book that the other dame that I recently read, and that one has super thick palace drama. Well, I guess it's cultivator society drama, but to the point where I was very constantly checking the glossary and character notes, being like, and how do you relate to this person? The cast of Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish is pretty small in comparison. It's not expansive, which helps because I kind of understood the each character's reasons for doing the things that they did. A lot of the character backstories and motivations are explained well in a way that I don't feel like, well, this character's just being evil for no reason. It's like, okay, you're acting like this because of A, B, C, D, and it makes sense why you're now concocting this plot to do, X, Y, Z. As well, the other characters also have growth, and not many of them, because this book very much is, it has its two main characters, but there are other characters in the background that do some growth, like the Emperor grows and changes, and a few family members grow and change. But also, speaking of the palace drama, I felt like the palace drama got wrapped up nicely, handled nicely. It didn't feel like it was dragging on forever. That is a real big pro of this book, is that the plot does not drag ever, which is a shock. There have been points in books that I've loved where I was just like, okay, are we done with this? Can we be done with this? No. At no point in Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish was I tired of what was going on. It was just like, okay, we're moving at a very fast clip, but it doesn't feel like it's too fast. Things don't get wrapped up before you've kind of been able to dive in and delve in and feel out oh, that's this character's motivation and that's why this is happening, and they did it using these methods. There are a few characters where you're just like, wow, you have 0 IQ. Why did you think that was gonna work? But not many. There's not many 0 IQ villains, which I appreciated. A lot of the villains, bad guys, definitely felt like they had reasons and thought behind what they were doing, instead of just oh, this character is gonna cause problems for the main pairing. and the bad, you know, bad guys, putting that in quotations, got comeuppance for their actions. Nobody went unpunished nobody went unpunished to the point that you were like, what, they did a lot of bad stuff. Worse things should be happening to them. No, a lot of the characters got what was coming to them. There was... Lost that train of thought. But yeah, I very much recommend this book. It has good romance, good characters, a nice plot, and even if you're not like a fan of Mpreg, even if Mpreg like squicks you out, the book doesn't go too deep into anything. Like, it's enough that, I mean, the first fish baby pregnancy is pretty much enough that you're like, oh, that happened. To where if you're not like into Mpreg, it's perfectly fine to, you're not looking at it and going, wow, they're going real heavy on the Mpreg. The second one is a little heavier, but again, even if like Mpreg or birth is a squick for you, it's nothing that I felt was too graphic or heavy or like really harped on. It was kind of just like a nice parallel plot. But yeah, good plot pacing. The characters actually have a really good chemistry and romance. The other characters feel like they're fleshed out too. It's not like two fleshed out characters and a bunch of cardboard cutouts. Palace drama wraps up well. Threads of things that would bother you if you're used to like transmigration novels are wrapped up. Like, you know, how do you explain that you are someone from a previous world or from another world and you can see the future? That gets wrapped up pretty well. It is not left kind of like hovering over your head as a like something when you're reading, you're like, how are they gonna explain this? They already did. But yeah, I mean, I would give this book like a 9 out of 10. The only thing that would make it a 10 out of 10 is if they didn't have the magical disability fixing trope, which, you know, that's just something that is a personal taste. But yeah, I highly recommend this book, this series. Even if you can even just get book 1 and, you know, dip your toes in, see how you feel. But, I mean, if you're anything like me, you're going to get done with book 1, and then you're going to be chomping at the bit to get to book 2. Because I will say also, the books have a really nice cutoff point. I mean, this is adapted from, like, a web novel. So the books have a nice point where it's like, okay, this isn't... If I did not know this was a web novel... adaptation, I would think this was where that the author was like, okay, this is the end of book 1. So that the pacing of the split for the pacing of the books is good. But yeah, if you are interested in getting this book, you can find it Amazon, Barnes & Noble, I believe, probably much wherever you can get books. It is published by 7 Seas, which I very much like their stuff. I am a big fan of this publisher. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for my review of The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish. 9 out of 10 series, highly recommend. And yeah. Thank you all so much for being here and for being, you know, listening to my first ever book review. I'm excited to release this to you all. I hope you all will like it as much as I've enjoyed doing it. Yeah, if this gets a, you know, pretty okay to positive response, I may consider doing this for more series. May do some like one-shot mangas. We'll see. But yeah. Well, I guess I'll just do my normal like stream outro. You all know the usual song and dance. If you're not already following me on social media, I would appreciate it very much if you would. As well, if you're not already part of our Discord server, I would love to see you there. Link is in the description. We have a lot of fun, and usually about every Tuesday night, we watch anime, we just hang out. There's a lot of fun stuff that goes on there, and you're missing out if you're not a part of it. But otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you. And, well, without any further ado, bye! Bye!